Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, back with you here, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson.
Huzzah!
Yeah, we're at episode edition number what? 27, 28?
29.
29, my goodness. Hey, well, look, all you libs and cream puffs out there, that SOS out there, that is your trigger alert. So grab your therapy dogs, find a safe space, get your thumb in your mouth, and hunker down there while we get into the real issues around here. Don't worry. Somewhere out there in Afghanistan, there's an 18-year-old Marine or soldier out there doing your job for you. You don't have to worry. Somewhere there's an 18-year-old sailor standing watch on a ship somewhere in the northern Atlantic, and somewhere there's an 18-year-old airman making sure that you don't get bombed tonight. So don't worry. Just stay there hunkered in your bunker, and everything will be all right. Your mom will wake you up in the morning. All right. We've got a good show for you here tonight.
Great show. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. By the way, please call in. You want to be a part of this show tonight. Our number is 866-870-5752. Let us know what's on your mind.
You got it. Yeah, we've got in the second half hour tonight, we'll give you the big lead first. We have Larry Sand. Now, Larry Sand has been on our show before. He is a leader and an acknowledged expert in education, particularly here in California. He is a good friend of ours, good friend of the California Taxpayers Union, and of the show here, Radio Free Los Angeles. He'll be on for 2 segments tonight. It'll basically take us from 8:30 until 9 o'clock, and we'll talk about current issues in education. There's nothing more important than education here in the state of California, and government education. Government schools are not getting the job done, no matter what they say, and really no matter how much money we give these people, it's never enough because, of course, it's not about education. It's about indoctrination. It's not about enculturating people. It's about hiring a bunch of liberal creeps who make their living at the expense of your children. It's nothing but organized child abuse. And so we're going to get on this issue more and more, particularly as school choice is brought to the public's attention. And our hope is to get this on the ballot, a school choice initiative, on the ballot for 2020, and we'll talk a little bit more about it with Larry. But in the meanwhile, we have something that is truly remarkable. As you know, we have in this state, Proposition 6 is on the November ballot, and Proposition 6 will repeal the gas tax and car registration increases that came about last year. Carl DeMaio, who heads up,
Reform California.
Yeah, Reform California, and he has repealedthegastax.org or whatever it is. We'll give you that link. But he's been running around the state doing a hell of a job. And he was on Ken and John the other day talking about his interaction with the Republican Party. Now, we're going to play that clip for you in a few minutes, and you really won't believe it. Do we have that queued up in there, Jeff? Just
call out someone.
Oh yeah.
The Los Angeles Republican Party.
Yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
You'd think that they'd be against tax increases. They'd be yes on Prop 6.
There's a Los Angeles Republican Party?
There is a Los Angeles Republican Party, but you know what? After what I'm going to tell you right now, maybe there won't be, and there's probably maybe a good reason for that.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Republican Party, we delivered signs to their headquarters so that they could serve as a distribution location for yes on Prop 6 signs, because a lot of Republicans in L.A., a lot of their members, a lot of their donors, a lot of their volunteers are yes on Prop 6.
Sure.
We got a call from the Los Angeles Republican Party saying, we don't want your stinking signs.
What?
Come pick them up. We don't want any of your material. We're not going to distribute Yes on Prop 6 material. So here's what I would just encourage.
Let me just clarify. Is this the Republican Party of Los Angeles County?
Yes, Republican Party of Los Angeles County.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
I would just ask you, if you are not happy about this, if you're a Republican living in Los Angeles County, I would suggest you call the party headquarters and ask to speak to the chairman and say that, you know what, I'm a registered Republican, and I don't accept
I don't get this.
And we need to hold these people accountable when they're not going to help us fight taxes.
All right, there we go. That was just a cutout. They were on. Hey, we'll pretend that we're competition for John and Ken and call them the competition. So, but anyway, as you know, John and Ken, these guys do a hell of a job on a lot of political issues, and they've been kind enough to have me on the show a number of times in the past. They're good guys. So I should have set this up better. Carl DeMaio, who has his voice sounds a little bit high pitched there on that telephone call, was calling in John and Ken and telling them that he had sent the Yes on Proposition 6 signs and the stickers, had sent them to the Republican Party headquarters in Los Angeles County, and got a call from some idiot down there who said they didn't want their stinking signs. Come pick them up. Now, can you imagine that, Jonathan?
I can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And Carl said later in the call, he said, when things don't add up, follow the money. So
Right.
either it was a colossal misunderstanding or, there's something wrong.
That's right. Well, I can tell you this from personal experience that, well, hell, everybody in this audience knows that the Republican Party is basically dead in the state of California. They are not a viable political entity. They have an office. There's still some money coming in. They do something. What it is, I don't really know. But you go ahead. There's somebody calling in on line one.
Yeah, we should let the audience know. I'm going
Yeah.
to be doing double duty tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to be call screening. So if you want to see me running back and forth, you can catch it on Facebook Live.
All right. So there's somebody, and they got a couple of calls. So if this didn't happen, there's somebody from the GOP and the LA County Republican Party needs to tell us that it didn't happen or give us an explanation. But this kind of thing can happen. It is inexcusable. What we do know is that over there at the headquarters of the California Taxpayers Union, we have signs. You can call there and get them, and that telephone number is 626-792-1772. Again, area code 626-792-1772. So if you do that, you will know that that you can pick up your signs and stickers. So we're a depot. We're there. There's going to be a big event out in West Covina on August 23rd, and also we're going to be. There's going to be a just to show you that all Republicans are not crazy. There's going to be a Glendale Burbank Republican Assembly, a GBRA, and they're going to have an event on September 8th, I believe, at the Jeffers Estate. We'll have more details for you on that, but we're going to have the Repeal the Gas Tax event there, and Carl DeMaio is going to be speaking in that event. So somebody is kind of fouled up around here. We don't know why. We'll be talking more. We've got some callers calling in right now. So in the second half hour, we'll have Larry San from 9 to 9:30. We will continue our conversations with you. And also, we will have, of course, one of our favorite features, the Government Grifter of the Week Awards. Right now, we have on line one, Linda from Burbank, who wants to talk about the DMV and the gas tax. Linda, are you there, ma'am?
Yeah, basically, I wanted to add the DMV into the mixture of what you're talking about. From what I've heard on where you were talking about John and Ken and on the news, and even a friend of mine who had to go renew her driver's license, there were long lines, and my friend had to wait in a long line at the Glendale DMV, and they had to stand outside, take their tests out in the heat on computers, and she had to bring all these extra papers, for, the Real ID Act.
Yes.
And
Hey, Linda, I want you to hang on. We got a little bit of break here. I'll be back with you.
Okay.
Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. Call us at 866-870-5752. Be part of the show. We'd love to talk to you. Back in a bit. All right, you've got the number out there. Be sure to call us. We now have Linda. We're back with Linda from Burbank, who's talking about the DMV and the gas tax. Go ahead, Linda. You were saying you were at the DMV the other day. Your friend was
telling me her experience.
Yeah.
And plus, she told me she had to bring all these papers, for the Real ID Act. And I think the Real ID Act should be repealed because it was voted on and signed into law by a bunch of Republican open borders, and Bush was an open border president that signed it, let alone, in addition to it being an invasion of privacy, why do we need the Real ID Act since Trump won't let certain people in from certain Middle Eastern, countries that are considered terrorists?
Well, yeah, and we have people who aren't.
Unity Act in Congress.
Yep.
And that Trump has deported illegal aliens, did away with the visa lottery, chain migration, and he wants to build a wall. I mean, with the exception of some judges with his deportation.
Right.
Why do we need all that? In addition...
Well, Linda, I'm not 100% sure you've touched what you're getting at. You've touched on a number of issues. Certainly, there is a current requirement that we revisit and update California IDs to comply with federal law. And my information is that our driver's licenses, as they are right now, and our issuance procedures in the state of California are not sufficient to ensure, A, that the driver's license actually and accurately identifies that person, and B, it's not clear that that person is in fact a legal resident. So there's a lot of pressure from the federal government to bring California into compliance, again, for security purposes. Now, my question to you is, do you oppose that, or you just oppose what they're making you do down there?
I oppose all of that because in states where even in California, where they have the driver's licenses for illegal aliens, don't those particular driver's licenses have an extra mark on it? All they have to do is go after those particular driver's licenses, go after those illegal aliens, deport them.
Well, I'm with you there, and I think that the President Trump is there. The problem is that the rest of Congress, including a big chunk of the Republican Party, are not with him, and this is going to be a multi-year effort to get after this, and in the meanwhile, we need to cut back the size of government in California.
There's another thing I'd like to explain. This Real ID Act will make our driver's licenses national ID cards.
Right.
Now, after Trump's presidency is over, the next president can bring back the North American Union and then make our national ID cards North American and North American Union ID cards.
Well,
the next president after that can be a total globalist and then make those cards into international ID cards, and that's the slippery slope.
Yes, and we're already way down that slope on national security, and I'll comment a little bit more on it here later on the program. Thank you for calling, Linda. Right now we'd like to take Brent from Los Angeles who wants to take his shot at some progressives. That's good. Time for target practice. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, hi, Mike. I'm calling from south of Corona, and I've been thinking, it's an amazing situation that I'm in a hiking area that's totally burnt out through one of these past fires, and half of California is going up in flames. Millions of acres are burning out, and this is all a result of progressive policies.
Right.
It's as if the progressive democratic policies are the most dangerous and destructive threat to the planet and the environment that there is.
Yes.
And it's not just these forest fires. These are mega forest fires that are, in effect, engineered by an insane forest policy. These are not natural fires anymore. These are progressive fires. And millions of tons. Millions of tons of wood are just going up and being incinerated rather than being utilized to build homes and mulch and paper. If we had sensible forest policies,
right? Well, this goes along with the first caller who was roundly condemning our identification procedures and warning against the emergence of the national security state, in which all privacy is eliminated, and of course are well on the way to eliminating any concept of private property. And at the same time, this government, which demands control over everything, has demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that it can't do anything. This is what happens when you turn any resource over to the government. They pretend that they're more competent, that they're brighter, that they're more enlightened. They come from a special class of people. They think thoughts that other people are incapable of. They're just so smart, don't you know? But as a matter of fact, they're not very good at anything that they do. They just demand the power. And more to your point, these fires here in the state of California are, as a matter of fact, natural fires. In other words, it's what's naturally going to happen if you're not careful. So if you, companies, California residents, governments have long recognized the problems with unmanaged forests, and if you're going to manage them, they need to be managed carefully. And if you manage them right, they can be commercially developed and exploited, converted into useful product. And here we've had millions of board feet go up in flames, and not a bit of it bothers those people because they're ideologues, they're religious zealots. That is a kind of a secular religious motivation. They are immune to reason. They are immune to logic. They cannot be controlled. They don't acknowledge the existence of the Constitution. No restraint. They are unto themselves. And there's no sign in this state in the political dialogue that anything is going to change. It's like everything else that they do, whether it's whether it's crime, traffic, fires, safety, water. How about the Oroville Dam? These people ought not to be entrusted with anything, and yet, and this is part of my beef. When we have these local elections, nobody goes out to turn these people around. Now, forgive the rant. I hope it's not too far off of your point. But go ahead, Brent. Yeah.
Well, it's all connected, but it's also what I'm trying to get at is they pretend to care about the environment, and everything they do is so deadly. And some of the other things I was thinking, after the forest fires, then just the toxic Teslas and the hyper-polluting Priuses with billions of batteries that are just going to brutalize the earth, with the mass murder of endangered birds because of these stupid quixotic windmills. And
San Francisco,
You know, and the San Francisco feces and urine and hypodermic needles just setting conditions for progressive plagues and epidemics like typhus and hepatitis and E. coli. These are really, if you care about the planet, definitely do not get anywhere near a progressive Democrat.
No, I'm totally with you. These people are out of control. You know, let me link that to one of our larger points. By the way, do you receive our emails, our teases that announce?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, Jonathan, tell Brent where to subscribe and get on our email list.
Yeah, Brent, go to our website, CaliforniaTaxpayersUnion.org, and at the top there's a link to click subscribe, and you could just enter your name and email address.
Right.
I've got to do that.
Yeah, please do that. And we've been remiss in announcing that because we really want to tell you what's coming up on the program, and also be a place, once you sign up there, you'll know where to send notes.
This show's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that we're working on, and the Taxpayer Gazette. So we're going to be really ramping up, especially our Get Out the Vote efforts for the November election.
A lot of stuff going on. Let me bring this back. The reason I mentioned what we call the tease or the announcement that goes out on the weekend before the show is that I took extra time today to make the point about big government in the United States. If you listen to Fox News or any of the major talk show hosts, they go on a great length about big government. And yes to all of that. Bravo, kudos to all of you guys. Got it. But what happens is that people overlook the local government. And the fact is that of the some $8+ trillion that's spent on government, all governments of all levels, half of it's spent by the feds, and the other half is spent by the cities and the states, and the locals, the cities and counties, spend more money than the states. And when it comes to employment, there's maybe 22 million state, federal, and local workers. Well, 14 million of them work for the states. Excuse me, for the locals, and maybe another 5 million. So if you're not, everybody out there, pay attention. When I know that there's some people out here have clicked off or gone to the next station or poured themselves a drink and turned on the TV. When I start,
I'm going to pour a drink.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm with you there. Yeah. I was telling Jonathan, we got 2 minutes to go. I was telling Jonathan we need to do this with a little Johnny Walker Black Label. He said it would not be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a good idea.
He was not going to give whiskey to Marines and then put them on the air. All right, so you win that argument. All right. So
I just wanted one last idea.
Yes, sir.
This is unsustainable insanity.
Yes,
which the progressives are all about, and so they believe in sustainability. This is totally unsustainable.
That's right, Brent. Let me take that last point of yours and expand on it just like this. Not only is it unsustainable, it has just come unsustained. When you look at just the pension debt in this California, in the state of California, you look at the poor state of education, we are already in free fall. And I'm telling you, that's the good news, because for all of you conservatives and weepy Republicans are out there thinking that nothing can be done, you are wrong, because everything that we've said about government is about to come true, is coming true, is on full display right in front of us each and every day if you pay attention. And if you'll go to the polls and vote in the manner in which we have suggested and cut back the size of the government, we can turn this thing around. Brent, thanks very much for coming on. It's always good to hear from you. This is Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson. We're now down at the bottom of the break. When we come back for the 8:30 to 9 o'clock hour, we will have Larry Sand with us. Call us, be part of the program, 866-870-5752. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, back with you, Radio Free Los Angeles. And tonight we're happy to have again with us Larry Sand. How are you, Larry? Are you there?
I'm here, Mike.
Larry, you've been a great friend of this show and of our organization, and I know you are one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to education issues, particularly on issues of freedom of education and quality issues here in this state. And we thought if you have some time, we'd like to have you on tonight to talk about some of these issues for our audience.
Thank you for the kind words, Mike. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, it's mine as well. Larry, many of our listeners I know have heard you before, both in person and on radio and television. But for those who don't know you are, maybe you could give them a little thumbnail about yourself and your background and what's brought you to all of these issues.
Okay, I'll just the Cliff Notes version. In 2005, I got involved in the Prop 75 campaign, which is the Paycheck Protection Initiative.
Yes.
And that, just opened my eyes to a lot of things. I saw the unions for what they were and certain people in the educational establishment for what they were. And I wound up forming a nonprofit called the California Teachers Empowerment Network. And I've been doing that ever since. I was teaching at the time. I retired from teaching in 2009, and now I'm a full-time pain in the neck.
Extensively for a number of publications, including the California Policy Center. Is that right?
Right, yeah, the California Policy Center, and I contributed to the Orange County Register, the LA Daily News, and I also have a weekly blog at the California Policy Center.
And I know that they just love you out there. Say, one of the big issues that we have had on this program here at Radio Free Los Angeles is our passion about education and our passion for what we think is the future, which is school choice, where parents can make the decisions about the education for their children. But what underlies all of this is a deep dissatisfaction on the part of parents and many citizens who are supporting this enterprise with the very poor quality of our education. Maybe you could start off by telling us how educational funding works here in the state of California, how much is involved and where it goes and how it's spent.
Well, the funding goes to the schools, and the school district can decide can spend it in certain ways, there's certain parameters that they need to follow, obviously. But basically, so much of the money is wasted. And they say, the unions talk about how California is 43rd in the country, and which really is not true. We just got a boost in funding. We're really in the middle of the pack now.
Right.
And funding is not the problem.
Right.
It doesn't matter. If you're throwing money at a bad enterprise, you can throw $1 trillion at it, and it's still a bad enterprise.
Yeah.
What we really need is competition, Mike. I know I don't have to tell you this, but I mean, you're not forced to go to the Target store down the street for your sundries. You have a choice. You can go to Target. You can go to Cost Plus. You can go to Costco. You can go to Walmart. You're not forced to go to that store down the street. But why do we do education this way? It is just beyond me.
Yeah, it is, of course, for social control. Let's go back to the numbers for a second. Because of a constitutional amendment passed back in the 90s, we devote here in the state at least 40% to the schools. Is that correct? 40% of the state budget?
Yeah, at least 40, and it's actually close. It usually comes to about 50.
Right.
So it's a huge enterprise.
Yeah, and how much does that come to statewide?
Unfortunately, I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Yeah. My last time I looked at those numbers, it was somewhere between $60 and $70 billion a year out of the state budget. Does that sound about right?
That's a safe guess. It's somewhere between, I would say, 55 and 70.
Right.
We'd be covered.
And we have, and I remember talking to you about this here. Well, it's been a couple of years ago, but I think the numbers are about the same. There may be 6 million children of school age here in the state of California, and maybe 500,000 of them are in private schools, leaving around 5.5 million children of school age K through 12 in the state of California. Does that sound about right?
It sounds about right, yeah, but don't forget charter schools. Maybe 10% are in charter schools also.
Right. But charter schools do receive public funding, do they not?
Oh, right, yeah. Charter schools are publicly funded schools that don't have to go by all the rules and regulations.
Correct. And
that a traditional public school does.
Right. But still in all, with the what remains and what is in the public school is not performing very well. What is the ranking of California schools nationwide right now?
I don't know if there's a national ranking. I do know that the students here don't do very well. They're very, very low, for example, on the NAEP scores. Mm-hmm. I believe the latest NAEP scores, they were 48th in reading and 49th in math.
Right. And despite a budget that increases each and every year and per pupil spending that's rising each year. Now, based on the numbers that you and I discussed, statewide at least $10,000 to $11,000 per child is being spent, but in fact, in some school districts, for example, the Los Angeles Unified School District, per pupil expenditures are actually much higher than that, aren't they?
They are, because the funding comes from many different places, and a lot of money comes from the federal government. And the federal government has a program whereby students, if they fall below a certain poverty level, get more money. And if there are a certain percentage of those kids in a school, the entire school gets more money.
So they're rewarded for failure rather than success.
Well, they claim. Well, it's once again, it's just buying into the fact that if we just spend more money, the schools will be better. And you notice they never tell you how much money.
No.
It's always, the number I use is $MORE.
Right.
That's what they want. There's
well
never a dollar amount because it's never enough. Why? Because more money doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put that up on our website. Now, what I've heard in the past is that per pupil expenditures in the Los Angeles Unified so-called school district is $25,000 or more dollars per year per child. Does it? Have you heard those numbers, or do you?
That would seem to be a little bit high.
Right. Well, even at 20 or 25, it's higher than most private schools. Certainly, 2 or 3 times as high as the average parochial school. Yet they have much less to show for it, and these children are not coming out with basic skills in language, in math. Or any of the other basic skills that they need. It's absolutely scandalous. What is the reaction of Black and Hispanic and other parents of whatever race who are forced into the system?
Well, most parents love it because they have a choice, because they know that the school down the street may not be the best school for their child. Mm-hmm. It may be academically not good. Maybe it's not a safe school. There are a lot of reasons parents don't want to send a kid to a school down the street, especially inner city parents.
Right.
And that's why school choice is a godsend for those people, for those parents.
Get them out of unsafe schools and substandard schools and give them the tools that they need. Now, when they say more money, they're always talking about more money, not for school books or anything else. They're really talking about more money for teachers. So we've got, about 3 minutes here? 2 minutes going. Let's start our discussion about teacher compensation. I saw the recent article that you wrote for the California Policy Center, and you talked about teacher compensation. Maybe you could tell our audience what the real facts are about how much these people make and how hard they work.
You know, you can take Los Angeles, which is pretty typical for the rest of the state. Starting teachers make about $50,000, and the average pay is about $75,000. But don't forget, that's just part of their income, because teachers have incredible health care and a budget-busting pension.
Right.
And James Agresti, who's a researcher, figured out that the average compensation for an LA teacher, including the pension and the health care, is about $113,000 a year. And also, there's also this. I just want to point one other thing I need to point out, that people in private industry work about 37% more hours per year than public school teachers.
Right.
And this includes the time that teachers spend on lesson plans and grading tests. I mean, teachers are always throwing that in, and that's true. They do spend more time than just what they spend in the classroom, but it still doesn't compare to what private industry people the hours that private industry people put in.
Right.
So teacher pay is much, much, much greater than is commonly thought.
So this idea that teachers are somehow overworked and underpaid is false. It's these are not your words, but I'll say them as I say about just about all of government programs. It's a fraud, a hustle, and a con. And there's no bigger fraud than this teacher compensation.
Well, I mostly agree with you, but I'd have to add one caveat, Mike.
Yeah.
In that we pay teachers in what's called a step and column method,
yes.
whereby teachers get paid more for turning up in the fall, and they might take some extra credit classes or salary point classes, which is supposed to be called professional development classes. But these classes have been shown, by and large, not to do any good at all.
All right, Larry, hold it right there. We're going into a break. Once again, this is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. We'll be back with you after the break. All right, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles back with you. We have with us through the break here, Larry Sand, an expert on education here in the California and an advocate of school choice, friend of this program, an all-around good guy. Anything to disagree with there, Larry?
How could I?
All right. Let's continue our discussion. I think I cut you off at midpoint. Fire away. Continue.
Okay, yeah, we were just talking about teacher pay and that teachers really make more than is commonly thought. And I mean, I have a lot of people, when people ask me if teachers are underpaid, I say yes, only the good ones. I mean, if you have an all-star teacher, you cannot pay that teacher more money than a mediocre or subpar teacher, and it's a criminal way to pay a professional.
Yes.
Teachers like to think of themselves as professionals. Good lawyers, good doctors, good engineers make more money than the mediocre ones. Why should teaching be any different? It's
totally
because
agree.
The unions have these ridiculous industrial-style work rules.
Yeah, and bad engineers, bad lawyers, and bad doctors also get sued and fired and put out of business.
Right.
Which never happens to a teacher.
Yeah, right. If a doctor starts killing his patients, guess what? He will be the subject of lawsuits and be without a medical and be without a job. Teachers doesn't happen that way because it is just about impossible to fire a bad teacher.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. And of course, the only way to actually fire a bad teacher or anybody else is just to be able to take your business elsewhere. As I say to people very often, when it comes to government, they always want us to get involved and try to suggest to them how it ought to be run. In my view, nobody can manage another man or another woman's business. If they're successful at it, if they're making a good taco, if they're manufacturing a good car, if they're delivering quality legal services, great, you'll buy them and you'll pay the price. If they're delivering bad services, you don't go over there and listen to a lawyer's tale of woe. Hey, I'm not being paid enough. My secretary is underpaid. We need to appoint a committee or a commission to come in here and study on how to turn my office around here, and I need more time, and I need my pension, and then this and that. You know, the person who would be most incredulous, it'd be one of these damn teachers. They would say, well, that's crazy. That's not my problem. I'm just going to go down the street and find myself.
You're going to tell the teacher who has legal problems they have to see the lawyer down the street. And they say, hey, but that lawyer's a terrible lawyer. He loses all cases. Too bad.
Too bad. That's your lawyer. Hot? And nobody has screamed longer or louder. And, of course, nobody hires better lawyers or pays them more money than their unions to make sure that they get the results that they need.
Right. Yeah, they don't look for the lawyers with the most seniority. They pick out the best lawyers.
Correct. And it ought to be the same way with their product, and if we like it, fine. And that's why I say with the school choice that we're advocating here, I would say to all parents and to all students in the schools, if you like your school, you can keep your school. If you like your teacher, you can keep your teacher. I'm just paraphrasing a famous man.
Right, but unlike that famous man, this is true.
Yeah, unlike him, it's actually true. And of course, the product that we've been advocating here is the a school choice plan, which has been developed and advanced by Senator Morlock, I believe, and that's the Educational Savings Account Plan. Mm-hmm. ESA is the shorthand for that. And very simply, the program would involve the establishment on August 1st of the year following the passage of the initiative of an educational savings account for every student of school age between kindergarten and 12th grade, and then into that account would be deposited roughly, the pro rata or median or average amount of average amount budgeted per student in the United States. In the state of California, and that would come to $10,000 or $11,000 a year, and then the student's parents would be able to spend that money either at the public school the child is attending, a public school of their choice, a charter school, or an accredited private or parochial school. And that any money that they didn't spend would be accumulated, could be saved to be spent on other qualified educational expenses or saved up and used in college. Those are the key features of the Morlock proposal. What is your reaction to those proposals?
I think it's an ingenious idea. I think it's. I just love it. In fact, I was up in Sacramento as an expert. Gave some testimony along with Reason's Lisa Snell and Rebecca Friedrichs of Supreme Court fame.
Yes.
And we sort of pitched the the State Senate Education Committee, and shock of all shocks, it was turned down. I think it was 7-2.
Oh, no. The hell you say? Oh!
It was a party line vote. I think there were 2 Republicans who voted for it, and 7 or so Democrats voted against it, and they just sort of slept through it.
Right.
I don't want to. I'm not going to name names, but the Democrats in Sacramento, many of them are in the pocket of CTA, and they'll just do CTA's bidding. So,
right, and that includes.
So this is going to have to be. This isn't going to, pass muster in Sacramento. This will have to be an initiative.
Correct. It will be, and a lot of us are working on it, as you know. What you were saying there about the legislature being owned by the teachers. More specifically, it's the teachers' unions, and the biggest event in this debate over schools and really the political debate in California has been the recent Janus decision. And as the audience may recall, Janus was a recent Supreme Court decision written, I believe, by Justice Alito, and basically it held that Mr. Janus, who was a state employee in the state of Illinois, could not be required to pay agency fees, or so-called fair share, to the unions to compensate them for the benefits that he had received because they were negotiating on his behalf. The Supreme Court held that that was an unconstitutional subsidy of speech with which he disagreed, which means that the unions here in the state of California are in tough shape, and people are going to, public employees who are paying agency fees, or even who are currently members of the union, are free to drop out and no longer be compelled to pay those fees. Now, what kind of impact is that having on the California so-called Teachers Association?
Well, that's a good question. I really don't have an answer because it's too soon to tell, Mike. I mean, the law went into effect on June 27th. That was the day of the Supreme Court decision. So it's only been about 6 or 7 weeks, and the unions are busy trying to sign people up. So we don't know. The best guess, maybe 20% will drop out, maybe 25%, maybe over years more. It's very, very hard. I mean, so many people have weighed in on this, and then everybody's guessing, and that's all we can do. Nobody has a crystal ball.
I would tend to agree with you that the defections won't be as many as people might think, because there's still considerable political pressure within the organization to belong to the union. Just so that you can survive. You may still disagree with what they're doing. You may vote far right, but you have to maintain your union membership to be considered for a promotion, and nobody's denying that.
Within a school, the union doesn't get involved with, a teacher wants to become the assistant principal. The union really can't touch that.
Yeah.
I mean, a principal may, but that's illegal.
Yeah.
And you brought up a good point about politics, because I was on a panel with then CTA President Dean Vogel a few years ago, and he said about 35% of teachers in California are Republican.
I've heard that.
So that means there are about 100,000 Republican teachers in California.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at CTA political spending, it only goes in a leftward direction.
Correct.
And I want 100,000 teachers to say, you want my money, you start doing things that I want with it, not what you want.
That's right.
And I think, I can go on and on about this, why would a conservative, a libertarian, or an apolitical teacher want to support a teachers' union?
Yes.
$700 of your dues money goes to the state. Another almost $200, $192 goes to the NEA.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with collective bargaining. This has nothing to do with your bread and butter issues. This is politics.
Politics,
and you are supporting it.
That's correct. Larry, we're now down under a minute. Do you have a website or an email that people can go to or communicate with you?
Yeah, that's just, the website is c10home.org, CTENHOME, the place where you live, .org. And you can email me from there. And please do, if you have any questions or you want to join us, I'd love to hear from you.
Fantastic. Larry, we really want to thank you again for coming on and updating the public and our wonderful audience on these very important issues. And I hope it won't be the last time that you come on with us.
Call me anytime, Mike.
Thanks, Larry.
Happy to join you.
You got it. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, back with you after the break. All right, we still have a minute to go, so I just want to thank Larry on the air again. We're back live here for about 30, 40 more seconds here, one more minute. And we want to thank Larry again for coming on. He's just such a knowledgeable guy, and he's out there talking about a really important issue. Now, we're coming up on the hourly station break with the news. Then after the 9 o'clock hour, we have a good friend, Gary Amanoff, from the Los Angeles County Republican Party, who says it was a huge mix-up, and he wanted to give me an opportunity to clear the record, and always for Gary, we will clear up the record. We're here to get it right. So we'll be back after the hourly break. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. Get your dialers ready, 866-870-5752. We want to talk with you. Back in a bit.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, back with you there. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, 866-870-5752. Call us. We want to hear from you. And, I always want to take the opportunity every once in a while to thank Basil Hoffman for recording that intro, the lead-in for our program. We appreciate it. We've known Basil Hoffman for years. So if you're out there tonight, Basil, or maybe you're working on a set someplace, we appreciate it. Here at the top of the hour, we're going to have Gary Aminoff from the Los Angeles County Republican Party. But first, we've got Mark Moser on here with us. Are you there, Mark?
I am here. Sorry I missed last week, but thanks for having me on this week.
Well, every once in a while, that bicycle of yours got to have a flat tire or something there, or maybe you're kidnapped by a motorcycle gang. But at any rate, I know because I got a notice. I wasn't able to join you, but I know that you're right here local. You were in San Marino this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm within right this minute, probably 5 miles of the station.
Yeah,
so it feels kind of weird to call in when you're that close, but I just could not race a bike that close to get to the station in time. So
now San Marino is right here in the heart of the San Gabriel Valley. A lot of very practical people, very wealthy community, but a very well-grounded and common sense people in San Marino. How was your reception? Was it successful for you?
It always is. It always is. I am one of the most blessed candidates for running the state of California. I mean, we are coming up. We just finished day 42 out of 46-day bike tour of the state of California. We have done about 80 events around the state, and I say we because it's not me because I'm just riding my bike, showing up at these events.
That's right. It's a team effort.
We got volunteers all over the state who have made this bike tour a success, and my hat's off to each and every one of them. Because I can't do this alone. This is a team effort to take back our state.
That's right. Yeah, the state of California. For people out there, it's easy to criticize the Republican Party, and there's a lot to criticize them for. But the fact is, running a statewide campaign in California is one of the tougher, more expensive things in the world. And that kind of money is not just out there. You have to go a lot of places. Your extensive travel throughout the state helps to make up for lack of money in many cases. But if you don't have those volunteers out there, this stuff doesn't happen. And you really can't buy that kind of help, can you?
No, you really can't. But it's I'm just so grateful for all these people. It's like yesterday as I was pulling into Santa Barbara, there was like 50 people just right there on the sidewalk as I came into the park, and they kind of lined the sidewalk. So as I was going through, I was giving high fives to everybody as I rolled down to the picnic area where I was going to get off the bike and speak.
That's nice.
The other day they had an event at an old barn. As I came chugging up the road, everybody was outside the barn cheering for me, and it's like, I didn't pick the location. I didn't pick I didn't get the invitations out to everybody. It was just we got such a great group of patriots across the state who really want their state back. They want to save their state.
Yes.
And, we're getting out there and meeting them, and this bike tour is giving them hope. And I'm out there talking about the path to victory, how 45% of California Democrats do not like the direction that the state is going.
Yes.
How we have to repeal the gas tax on the ballot, which is really exciting. Those Republicans, the conservatives who tend to only vote in presidential election years, and how we have a path to victory, probably the best path to victory we've had since 1994.
Yes.
And, as I'm able to get out there and just really energize people who have just almost given up on California. I get approached by people every single day who are just saying, like, if we don't win in 2018, I'm gonna be moving. They're so tired of losing. They're so tired of being beat up by their government. Rather than government fighting for their liberties and their freedom, they feel like that they're in a fight against the government. And that's not right.
There's no question about that. And on this show, we make it very clear that government, what we have here in the state is government by, for, and of itself, and the government class that runs government at every level. There's nothing else that explains it.
The only thing I would change is we have government by special interests for special interests.
Yeah, and the major self-interest or special interest is the public employees themselves. And government is out there at every level. It is dedicated to growing itself. And although there may be some exceptions, my view of these people is that every government employee, every public employee is a paid partisan political activist. And they're constantly agitating in favor of growing this thing when, in fact, the pension system's $1 trillion upside down because we hire too many of these people. Government does too much. They pay themselves too much, and they can't keep the promises that they've made to themselves. And they're coming to you and to me and everybody else and asking us to keep those promises, and they really can't be kept. Mark, is there any understanding at all out there that these pension promises can't be kept? That every city in this state is effectively bankrupt and insolvent?
Well, I'm running for Secretary of State, Chief Election Officer, so that's not necessarily my issue. But riding with me is Konstantinos Roditis, who is running for controller. And he is, as we get to these events, I give my spiel about elections, and he gives his spiel about our unfunded pension liability, about the train to nowhere, and, so he's educating people out there on those issues.
Well, have that Greek call us, would you? Because I'd love to talk with him. I don't think he's called in before. Has Konstantin called in? We'd love to talk to him. And
I'll tell him when I see him tonight that he needs to call in next week. How does that sound?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. He's got our number here. We'd love to hear from him. And out there, of all the problems that we have, by the way, just hang on, Mark. Are you going to go get Gary on the phone? Okay, good. Yeah, we had a little misunderstanding to clear up. But basically, of all the things that we talk about that are broken in California, nothing is more fundamentally broken and flawed than our voting system and our registration system, the integrity of the vote, on which everything else is based. And Mark Moyser,
we actually got a new report that came out this week from MIT, in which they did a survey of all the states' election system. And they determined, this MIT report came out and gave California a failing grade, saying that we had the third worst elections in the United States of America when you measured across 14 different
criteria,
measurables. So it's a scientific poll done by some very smart people. I've met a couple of them in the past. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they rank and how they rank it.
Right.
But generally speaking, the results are California has the third worst elections, and that is unacceptable in anybody's book.
Exactly, especially for the most advanced, technologically advanced state in the union and the fifth largest economy in the world. Mark, what's your website? People want to find out more about you and your campaign and contribute to your effort. Where do they go?
They go to markmoyser.com. That's MarkMeuser.com. This bike tour ends on Thursday down in Anaheim. We start a slow bike ride from Anaheim to Huntington Beach. It will be a 46-day tour that ends on Thursday. We're in San Bernardino tomorrow and Temecula. And Tuesday and Wednesday we're down in San Diego. So if any of your listeners are anywhere near, we encourage them to go to markmoyser.com. Check out where we're going to be at and show up, and I'd love to talk with you.
Sounds like a plan. Well, look, Mark, thanks so much for coming on. We're up on the break now. When we come back after the break, we have Gary Amanoff from the Los Angeles County Republican Party. So call back if you got a question for Gary or for us, you want to be part of the show. Call us at 866-870-5752. Back in a minute. Okay, back with you here. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. Please join us and be part of the show. We'd love to hear from you. We've had a lot of great callers tonight. We led off the show on an issue regarding whether the Los Angeles County Republican Party had said we don't need no stinking signs or something like that. But in any event, apparently there's that might have been wrong. Another side of the story.
We did say it could have been a misunderstanding.
Could have been, yeah. We said we invited people to call in to correct it, and sure enough, a good friend did call in. We have Gary Amanoff on the line. Are you there, Gary? We have Gary Amanoff. There he is. How are you, Gary?
Right.
All right.
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Mike?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. Anytime you call in, it's a good time. Not everybody knows you, but nobody's worked harder or longer for Republican and conservative causes than Gary Amanoff.
Yeah, we should have Gary. We should have you on. Every once in a while, at least once a month.
Yeah, I mean,
Jonathan, I'm happy to do it.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, look. When we let off the show, we played a clip from John and Ken, with Carl DeMaio calling in and high dudgeon over the fact that somebody said we don't need no stinking signs. So at any rate, we said we might have that wrong call in. You did call, Ren. Why don't you give us the other side of the story? What really happened out there?
I will. And first of all, let me say that everybody that I know in the L.A. County Party supports the gas tax repeal and supports yes on 6. So what happened is this. The L.A. They first of all, nobody called to say they were delivering signs. All of a sudden, a delivery guy shows up. Now, the L.A. County Party offices are in a security office building in Encino. When I say security office building, you can't just go up to, we're on the 5th floor, you can't just go up there. You've got to sign in with a security guard on the ground floor.
Right.
And show identification. The parking garage is very expensive. It's something like $5 for the first 15 minutes.
Right.
Unless you get validated. So it is not, and we have a very small office there. We have 2 rooms, and we've got an executive director and about 2 or 3 interns in those 2 rooms, and it's crowded as is. So there's no place it's just not a conducive location to store signs and to have people coming in to pick up signs.
Got it.
So a guy shows up, and I think he's got 200 yes on 6 signs that he wants to leave off and have us distribute to people in the county. So Zaira, who's the executive director, called the chairman, Richard Sherman, who explained to the driver what I just said. That this is not going to work. It's not a place where we can have people coming in and picking up signs, and that we would try and find another location where we could put the signs.
Yeah, have you guys been able? Go ahead. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Guy went back, and I'm sure he said to whoever it is that he reports to that the L.A. County Party doesn't want any signs. Certainly not the case. I spoke to Carl today, Carl DeMaio, and we're going to have a conversation at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to come up with some alternative locations for the signs so that we can make sure that they get out to people in L.A. County.
Right.
A misunderstanding. The delivery guy certainly did not report back what the chairman told him was the reason we weren't accepting the signs.
Correct. Now, you know, of course, that if anybody needs signs right now, we have them over at our office in Pasadena. and all they have to do is to call 626-792-1772. You can call that number right now, leave a message, tell us how many signs and stickers that you need. You can come by and pick it up. We're right off of the 210 freeway and Lake Avenue. So if anybody needs signs in the meanwhile, Gary, you can refer them over to us. I don't know where the other depots are, but Jonathan, we should find out where else these signs are being distributed so we can get people.
Yeah, that's
to
a
the
good
right
question.
place.
I had someone up in Fresno ask where they could get signs this week, and I couldn't find it online. But you can always call Reform California. Go to their website, and there's a phone number there, or email them.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're all here to defeat that tax. Now, Gary, while we've got you on the phone, is there any reason why you guys don't have more of a retail location? One time you had that beautiful office over in Burbank, several thousand square feet over there, and that was a good place to service constituents.
Yeah, there we could have done it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we were that building was owned by the California Republican Party, and they sold that building, and we had to move out of that facility.
Yeah,
and we got a donor, Robert Lowe, who owns the building we're in, to donate a space to us, and that's why we're there.
Right.
And hopefully, in the future, we'll have a larger space where we can accommodate things like the signs.
Well, yeah, you really do. This state, this county, for those of you out there listening who may not pay a lot of attention to this, in the county of Los Angeles, the population is now right at 10 million or maybe just a little bit more. Now, at 10 million, that makes the county of Los Angeles larger than the entire state of Michigan. By itself, Los Angeles County would be the 8th or 9th largest state in the union. Here in Los Angeles County, even as low as Republican fortunes have fallen, if you take the number of registered Republicans and add to that independents and decline to state and other people who hide for various reasons but are of the same state of mind, you've got 1 million people in this county who think like we do, and untold Democrats who agree with us on issues, even if they don't agree with us on policy. Now, my question to you is, what is the, and I don't want to put the whole burden of defending the Republican Party on you, but you are, somebody is on the phone. Maybe you can explain to us what the Republican Party is doing to address these issues.
Well, we are, the LA County Party has some targeted races in the county that we're raising money for and supporting with volunteers. In fact, we have volunteers almost for every campaign. But there are some that we're either where we're defending seats or whether we think we've got an opportunity to win a seat.
Yes.
That we're devoting our resources on. Unfortunately, the donors' attitude has been recently, I'd rather give directly to a candidate than to give to the party.
Yes.
So our resources are probably about a fourth of what they were 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us, it limits us into what we can do, but we want to support our candidates, and we do support our candidates to the best we can. And that's where we're devoting our time and resources at this point.
Sure. Well, I can't say I blame you. Well, Gary, we're coming up here to the end of the program, so I want to thank you for coming on, and let's you and I connect and catch up here real soon. We ought to talk about what we can do to get out the word for conservative causes and candidates in Los Angeles County. We've had.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay, my friend, we've had the pleasure of having Gary Amanoff representing the Los Angeles County Republican Party to help clear that up, and apparently everybody is in favor there of this a repeal of the gas tax increase, and we're delighted to hear it. And apparently everybody's going to be on the phone tomorrow to clear up all these misunderstandings. So we've had a good show tonight talking about what people are doing. There's a couple of campaigns they're involved in. Let's see. Mr. Jeff, how many minutes do we have in there? We got 2 minutes. Let's take Dave from Orange County here. He's on line 1. David, are you there, my friend? You're going to have to be good. You're going to have to be fast. Go ahead.
Yes, real quick. I'd like to ask this Los Angeles Republican Party guy, how come, now I'm working on this campaign, okay, with Jessica Martinez. She was your guest last 2 weeks ago, Mike.
Yes.
And the attitude towards, she's an awesome candidate. We can beat Ian Calderon. The stats show us. But this L.A. County Republican Party's attitude, there are 2 people, I was told, in the 57th committee, Central Committee, who wouldn't even congratulate Jessica because they were mad their candidate didn't win. And the L.A. County Party's attitude of, they're not helping her. This is appalling. And this something needs to change. And I'm like, ask this guy, hey, you know what? Get your act together, sir, whoever you are, the guest you are, because you're not helping her, and you need to help her. We can win.
Yeah, Dave, I want to pursue this conversation with you more next week. Will you be sure to call in? Because this is hugely important. I think everybody assumes that...
Shame on them. Shame on them.
Yeah.
This is why we've been losing, and they need to change their attitude and knock it off.
Well, it goes deeper than that. There's an explanation which doesn't get them off the hook, but I want everybody to understand it. Call us in next week. That music that you're hearing there is my signal to shut up and get off of the air, go home, get something to eat.
Great show, Mike.
Hey, back to you, my friend. And Jonathan didn't get to do his Government Grifter of the Week award, but we will be back. So all of you government people out there, we want to know what you do for that kind of money. Be sure to call us in. Tell us how wrong we are. We'd love to hear from you. See you next week, everybody.
All right. See you.